Hello class, this is the first video of our class Teaching and Learning Evaluation. So in this session, I would like to deliver the introduction to language testing and evaluation. In this session, I would like to describe about some terms that you will find next in your TLE class. Okay, so in this teaching and learning evaluation class, you will focus on designing or constructing test item and then administering the test, and the last is scoring the test. So in this first session, I would like to introduce you to some types of tests. The first type of test is achievement test. An achievement test is a set of activities or tools intended to measure the achievement of previously designed learning objectives in the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domains. Achievement tests measure someone's knowledge or skills on a material studied or taught. Achievement tests are more related to a specific program than a learning goal, measuring student achievement, learning ability, or academic intelligence. So, the main focus of achievement tests is to measure whether our learning objective is already achieved or not. Talking about learning objective refers to learning objectives which are already stated in our curriculum K13. So for teaching and learning English in Indonesia has been mandated in K13. So the source of learning objectives, including English learning objectives, have already been listed, have already been established in K13. So you have to be sure whether our students have fulfilled all of the learning objectives or indicators mandated in K13. And then the judgment tools that can judge our students whether they have achieved our learning objective or not is by having the achievement test. The achievement test can be done in some certain points of teaching. What have been already familiar is formative and summative tests. So in conducting formative tests, it means that the test item must be constructed based on collections of basic competence or learning indicators from the first meeting until the middle meetings. So for the first meeting until the last meeting, for the first meeting until the last meeting, you can measure it by having the summative test. So formative and summative belong to achievement test. The next type of test is diagnostic test. Diagnostic test determines students' strengths and weaknesses when learning something. A diagnostic test result can serve as a basis for follow-up. This test can be in the form of several questions or a request to do something. Diagnostic tests have two main functions, namely identifying problems or errors experienced by students, and planning follow-up according to problems or errors that have been identified. So as a good teacher of English, actually we have to diagnose our students in terms of their weaknesses. Yeah. So the main point is to diagnose our students' weakness. Diagnostic test is familiarly recognized as pre-test. So prior teaching and learning activities, as a good teacher of English, we have to conduct the pre-test. The pre-test is the test which is conducted priorly teaching and learning activities, in prior teaching and learning activities. So before we conduct the teaching and learning process, we have to diagnose our students in terms of the strength and the weaknesses. So the results of the diagnostic test can be our consideration in selecting the appropriate teaching and learning materials that we as the teachers will deliver. Okay, after having diagnostic tests, yeah, of course we will get the point of weaknesses of our students, and also actually the strength points of our students. And we can emphasize the weakness point, yeah, to emphasize the learning process to our students in terms of delivering the learning materials, in terms of selecting appropriate teaching techniques to deliver the materials, especially the materials that can alleviate our students' weaknesses. After conducting the learning process in some point of teaching, we can conduct progress tests. Progress test aims to monitor and measure the development of students' clinical reasoning abilities from year to year as long as students undergo the learning process. A progress test is a test or exam conducted to determine the development of competency achievement of students. Progress tests are also known as progress test focuses on feedback to evaluate the development and sustainability of knowledge during the learning process. So whenever you want to know how far your students have been developed from their prior competency, you can conduct progress tests. Okay, the next term of language testing that you will discuss further is proficiency test. So different from achievement test, proficiency test is a comprehensive test that measures all aspects of English language proficiency, especially for academic purposes. The language skills tested include listening, speaking, reading, and writing. The language components tested include vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation, intonation, and stress. So when we conduct the achievement test, we have to construct our test item based on the learning objectives or indicators mandated in our syllabus or K13 curriculum, but in proficiency test, we construct the test items that measures all aspects of English language proficiency in terms of language skills and also language components, without referring to any kinds of indicators, to any kinds of learning objectives. That's the main difference between achievement tests and proficiency tests. Okay, we continue our session by explaining aptitude tests. What is aptitude test? Aptitude test is one of the most popular tests, also known as the essential ability or aptitude test. An aptitude test is a test or assessment that measures a person's cognitive ability as a predictor of his level of success to be able to perform a task. In English learning, an aptitude test measures the student's probable performance in learning a foreign language, showing whether the student has any particular aptitude for learning a new language. So actually, every student has his or her own capacity to learn a foreign language. And such kind of tests which can predict their prior performance before we really know the actual performance is by conducting the aptitude test. So the results of the aptitude test is expected to show us the probable performance of our students in learning a foreign language, to show whether our students have any particular aptitude for learning English specifically. Okay, and then after designing or constructing our test item, we have to be sure whether our test item has already been appropriate to use as the measurement tool to measure our students' performance, of course. So what are the characteristics of a good test? First, a good test is considered as an appropriate test tool is validity. What is validity? Validity is a measure that shows a test error level. A test is valid if it measures what it is intended to measure. The test has high validity if the results match the criteria, in the sense of having parallels between the test and the criteria. Absolute validity is required by a measuring instrument or test tool so that the measurement objectives are relevant to the data needed or obtained. There are kinds of validity. Two kinds of validity are such kind of requirements to determine a good test. What are they? Construct validity and content validity. The second characteristic of a good test is reliability. What is reliability? Reliability is a consistent result of a test repeatedly as proof of the accuracy of the test results, even though the test is repeated, will produce the same results. And the last Characteristic of a good test is backwash effect. The backwash effect of testing largely refers to testing's effects on training and learning. It is also the influence that the structure and substance of an aviation English exam may have on regulators and administrators' conceptions of language competency and what it includes. If a test has good backwash effect, it will exert a good influence on the learning and teaching that takes place before the test. Okay, thank you very much for watching. So this is the first session of our teaching and learning evaluation class. In this first session, I've already introduced you to some terms of teaching and learning evaluation, to some terms of language testing, and characteristics of a good test. Thank you very much for watching, and then see you for the next material presentation. See you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.